Let's go! Today we're breaking down Florida State's bread and butter play counter and how LSU will stop it down. And this is actually Florida State running something called GY counter. We're going to break all the different variations of how Florida State uses it and what LSU needs to do, because as you can see on this GY counter, Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy, Ali Gabe mixed in there, BJ Ojolari, well, those guys aren't here anymore. So, let's first define what counter actually is. So, you're reading the counter philosophy. It's basically when you pull two people to the opposite side of the line of scrimmage as a part of your running game. What I want to show you is the most perfectly blocked counter play you will ever see. And this is actually from Ty Davis Price's record-setting game versus Florida. So, we are running GT counter, okay? Ed Ingram and Cam Wire are pulling to the opposite side of the line of scrimmage, and GT counter represents the guard and the tackle, where GY counter would be the guard and the tight end if there's a tight end over here, okay? So we're pulling these guys around. Liam Shanahan's blocking down on this player, Marlon Martinez blocking down on this player, and Austin Deculus is blocking down here. And we are trusting Ed Ingram to kick out this edge guy right here and Cam Wire to get to the second level. All right, and then obviously Jack Masherin has a perfect block right here. And bang, okay? This is the most perfectly blocked counter you will ever see. Ty Davis Price actually had not one but two chances to run this thing in. But counter's not been our number one staple. It has been the number one staple of the Florida State Seminoles, and now we're going to show you a few breakdowns of how they like to do it.
This one is counter GT with the guard and tackle backside pulling towards the tight end as he and the tackle are blocking down on the end and working up to the backer. The backside guard is pulling up for the safety or corner. Here's just a great end zone shot of exactly how counter GT should be blocked up. Nobody touches the ball carrier until he's 30 yards downfield. At some point in the third quarter, Mike Norvell realized that they were not going to stop counter GY. And he stopped changing the formation or presentation and essentially just said, this is how we're going to line up. Counter GY is the guard, the backside guard, and the backside Y or tight end.
Alrighty, so the difficulty of Florida State, and that was Dominic Robinson with War Chant doing a really good breakdown of Florida State just running very simple counter plays. Now, what's interesting is they don't just run counter. This is him just basically running what we like to do, some inside zone, or is that duo? It's kind of hard to see from this angle, but this is him just running the football right up the gut. Got bailed out a little bit on a holding call, I think actually right here. But as you'll see, Florida State doesn't just run counter. They're able to run basic, zone as well. Now, Florida State lines up in pistol again after the holding penalty, and they're going to run counter. But this is just simple GT counter, okay, where they're pulling both of these guys to the left. And this is where it gets really complex, and actually they're pulling to the right, excuse me. I want you to guess what actually ends up happening on this play. Does Jordan Travis actually just hand this football off to the running back? Does he actually pull it and take a play action shot down the field? Does he actually tuck and run with it? I want you to give it your absolute best guess. Put yourself in the shoes of Greg Penn, who will be playing a lot for us this next year. And I want to show you a really good rep versus Georgia. Alrighty, so here's LSU going up against a counter GY, a big part of what Florida State's offense was last year. And this is us going up against the best offensive line in college football in Georgia. So for this play, we did bring a safety blitz, and that did help blow the timing up on this just a little bit. But for the most part, it didn't have too much of an effect on this play. And BJ Ojolari was able to make this play. So GY is pulling the guard and the Y, which is the tight end. So the backside guard and the backside tight end coming around, and we need BJ Ojolari to blow this play up, give us some type of disruption here. And there's obviously many different ways you could defend this. BJ decides to wrong arm and get underneath it, and he does a really good job right here taking on both of these blocks. And as you'll see, They ended up getting some decent push right here on Mekhi Wingo. Remember, it's late in the third quarter here, and Wingo's playing a lot of snaps. It looks like this play is going to go for a lot, but the play was actually made on the backside right here by Jacobian Guillory, okay? Cedric Van Pran, the New Orleans native, leaves this block for Amarius Mims, a tackle, and Guillory does a good job seeing this counter is being run to the inside, shedding this block, and eventually making this tackle right here. And once again, good job by Major Burns helping to squeeze that play down. Perk gets in that mix as well. Kind of whiffs on the tackle. That's okay as long as we blow it up. And this is a minimal gain. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. Hope you subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. You guys know about the live stream schedule, the pregame, halftime, and postgame shows, and you're Greg Penn, and you're having to deal with counter. And overall, I felt LSU, when they played counter, like you just saw with that Georgia play, they did a good job when the ball was actually handed off to the running back. Now, you see Greg Penn and our entire defense is thinking on this counter GT that the ball is actually going to be given to the running back, but no, that's not what happens. Jordan Travis has the ability here to pull this if he sees the contained defender, whether this was Alligay or Major Burns. Obviously, this is very sloppy from our defense here. Jordan Travis sees all this space. He sees that Mike Jones ran himself to the inside. He sees that Alligay's pinned all the way down here, and look at all this room right here. Okay, so if you're, Perk and obviously Savion Jones, you've got to have your contained responsibilities down pat, because we don't want to be giving a quarterback all this green grass to run through, especially if we get a nice holding call on first down. So this 1st and 20 is eradicated, and he didn't even need to take a hit. So now this time, this is just a straight-up play-action counter, okay? GT counter, play-action pull. They're running, I believe, smash, and this is just a really difficult throw. You got to have a really good quarterback here, because we have this defended pretty well. But you see, he's able to set his feet, throw across his body, and hit Wilson on the deep over right here. And honestly, that's just a good throw, good catch. He's got to make that tackle. But as you can see, there's so many different things you can do off of it if you rep it as much as Florida State does. So Florida State was basically first in every category when it comes to counter. So after this rep where LSU actually runs a little bit of a stunt, Alligay was able to make the tackle here. They were able to pick up 7 yards. You're actually going to hear from a Florida State coach, the offensive coordinator, Alex Atkins, break down what else they can do from this. And this is going to be where LSU needs to be very careful in defending it, because I think we're going to see more of these next variations versus LSU.
Got to have things off of it that you can do. So not only will we go with the counter screen to the tight end, we also will go to the back on it. Now, even more, we said, well, Coach, y'all only got one puller. Okay, cool. Now we give you 2 pullers. So we got guard, tackle, counter. We got GY counter with an attached tight end weak going back to the attached tight end. So we're giving them GY counter from the gun, tight end screen.
So that was obviously Alex Atkins. I'm only playing a little bit because he does get very coach speak, and it's really hard to watch a coach seminar unless you are a coach, because they say a lot of things that actually go over my head. But still. Now, I'm going to give you some big bonuses from the LSU perspective here, okay? They did a good job not only stopping counter, but Jordan Travis had a lot of these types of plays versus us last year. And these are just incredible plays. I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate how good he freaking played versus us last year. And if he does, he is, for real, a true Heisman contender. That was a jump pass, making an unblocked blitzer miss. And when I tell you that this was one of the 5 best quarterback performances I've ever seen versus LSU, it's up there with the Aaron Murray versus Zach Mettenberger game and so many others. I really do mean it. The guy was nothing short of incredible. Now, to go along with those tight end slips with the misdirection and all of that, this is another thing I think you'll see. All right. If LSU elects to do more of the wrong arm, where our edge defender right here gets underneath the two pullers, they're going to try and get to the outside with end arounds, running back slips, and different things like that. And you'll see that's what they do here. So they fake the run to the inside, and instead they have an end around here. And as you can see, they're able to just seal everything right here, and look at all this space for them to run through. So I think Florida State in this game, I don't think that they feel too comfortable about running against our front, because last year without Mason, we had Guillory and some other guys step up and play well up the middle. In particular, Mekhi Wingo really, dominated them. We're physical with them, like you see right here. I just got to be real. Jordan Travis was just too daggum good. I mean, he was so unfreaking believably accurate in this game. I cannot say it enough. It's just his receivers stunk up the joint. There were so many drops of balls that he put right on the money, and I won't play it again, but when Ali Gay ripped his head off, he still threw balls on the money. And you see right here, once again, we out-physicaled them on just these runs right up the middle. It was just all the other stuff that they attached to it. Alrighty, so here at the end, I'm going to give you how I feel about this defensive matchup for LSU. But first, I want to show you, let's actually run these numbers really quickly. So this is Florida State, and these are all our defensive performances on the season. You guys know my favorite statistic to look at both sides of the football is yards per play, and you'll see that Florida State at 5.5 was well below their season average. That is some really good stuff from an LSU perspective. But more importantly, after losing Mason Smith, we held them to 3.5 yards per rush, which, of course, is well below their season average. That is some dominant run defense from LSU. That's really freaking good stuff. But I'm going to give you a little bit of harsh truth as well. I am very worried about this matchup defensively for LSU. There's so much that has changed with not only our personnel, but I think Florida State has upgraded everywhere. Like I mentioned a minute ago, Florida State's receivers were not that good last year outside of Johnny Wilson, and they bring in a new set of tight ends and Keon Coleman from Opelousas. I think we're going to have to beat them in a shootout. Now, this gets us to our next point here. If you're an LSU fan, we're going to have a better offense next season, right? If Jayden takes that major leap that we expect him to, this game I do think is going to go well over the total, and I think we're going to have to win this one in a 38-35 kind of game. I think even if Jordan Travis isn't as accurate as he was last year, I do think they'll be able to move the football on us. Now, I don't think that that's going to be necessarily a knock on our defense the rest of the season. I do think Florida State's offense is a top 5 offense in all of college football next year. So if we can win this game in a shootout, this would be a good, obviously, Heisman moment potentially for Jayden as we look forward to the rest of the season. And it's just how I feel about this early on. But feel free to comment down below. But I wanted to show you the bread and butter staple play counter. And when you see their offensive linemen and tight ends pull from one side or the other, you learned about it here on PHL. Okay, you guys know the live schedule and all that good stuff. And let me know down below, okay? Keon Coleman scares me, but come on, Louisiana DB. Shut down your fellow Louisianian. Let's go. Let's do it. It's game week, baby. And it's also Power Hour LSU. Boom. And tonight, we're doing spaghetti, baby. That Cajun thunder sauce. Let's go.